Because there's OMC conference in Ravenna, and we are some way forced to attend it. We want to do that. So if we can change just the 27th March.
27. The problem is, so you are busy the whole day, 27. You are busy the whole day, morning and afternoon.
Yeah, from the 27 up to 29.
3 days.
3 days, okay. Because my feeling is that also 13, I don't remember March 20 why I didn't put the lectures. It was a mistake by me, or do I have it's just 1 second. No, I think it is a mistake. I think I forgot March 20.
Yeah, la 13th of March.
You forgot March 20.
Yeah. Okay, so we may be lucky because, okay, so let's say, let me change it. Okay, it's better if I change it later. So let me go back here. So you have this problem, because I tell you the problem is to find the room for another day, and I wouldn't postpone it, because my feeling is that on March 13th they will tell me that it's not possible. So if March 27 is not possible as well, I would say that I can substitute easily 27 with 20. And then if March 13 is not possible, we have 2 options. Either we get to May 22, which wouldn't be really a disaster, or we find another day along the week. But I need your availability, my availability, because I have lectures in Bologna on Thursday and Monday. So I am only available on Tuesday and Friday, but we need a room, and I'm not sure that we can find the room. Okay, so let's agree in this way. I change 27 with 20, and then we can check what to do about the 13. Okay.
Maybe you can ask to Archette when she will finish the lessons.
Okay. Yeah, she will finish. Yeah, I can get her hours. Yeah, unless they. Because I think in the allocation of notes they take into account it, but I'll check. I'll check for sure, and I just wanted to change the calendar soon, because otherwise I don't want to forget. Just give me 1 second. I change this 27 with the 20. Okay. And then finally, I wanted to tell you, you see that in April we have only 1 lecture, and the reason is that there is the Easter break, and also I am busy for a conference the week before the Easter break. So I'm sorry, but in April we only have this opportunity. Okay, let me see, it should be already changed. Yeah, it's changed. Okay, so let's keep it in this way. Okay, and as I said, in April, unfortunately, I don't have. So we have a 1 month break between March 20 and April 17, but it's not a big problem. Okay, and also keep into account that I give you the opportunity, if you wish, to join for a field trip that I am organizing with the other students in Bologna. It will be a bit complicated for you because we are leaving from there. So if you live in Ravenna, you need to be in Bologna early in the morning. So I'm not sure whether it is really convenient. It will be on May 16, if I well remember. And also it is a field trip that it's, I'll tell you when it is. It's May 16, it's a Thursday. And it is a visit to an experimental field where they try, it's a consortium for, it's a company that manages, it's a water board, manages water for irrigation. And they try innovative irrigation techniques. So it's not really related to coastal engineering, but I would like to give you this opportunity because I think it is interesting. And this is the only field trip that we may propose. Professor Archetti, I know that she's proposing another field trip, usually in May. So you will have also the opportunity to attend the field trip of Professor Archetti. Okay. Now let me go back to the exam. As I said, I'll give you these opportunities, and then we work with Professor Archetti in this way. Was that you took both of them, both of the small exams. The last one keeps records your mark. Okay. So if you take the exam with me first, I'll pass to Professor Archetti your mark, and then she makes the exam, and then she computes a weighted average, where the weight is the number of credits, the relative number of credits, and then the resulting mark is recorded. Is it clear? So basically, if you take 25 with me and 28 with Professor Archetti, usually we work in this way. We take 25 times 4 plus 28 times 2 divided by 6, and we round to the closest integer. It's clear? And then, of course, we discuss a little bit. I mean, we are not very analytical, okay? So sometimes if it is 28, the result is 28.4. I don't say 28, but I say 29, because if it is 28.01, it's 28, okay? So we are not so strict. And this is the way we work for computing the overall mark. Okay, one thing I think it is useful is if I told you how I make my evaluation. Usually my exam is short. It's about 20 minutes at most. Usually the exam is done in this way. If I have more than one student at the exam, I allow 2 students to take the exam together, and while I speak with my student, I ask the second student to write down on a paper the answer to my question. So usually what I do is, okay, you have 2 students. The first one takes a seat close to me, and then I ask a question, and we have an interaction, an oral interaction. Of course, the question may require that the students write down on paper, like proofs, formulas, etc. Okay. And then to the second student, I ask the question, and I ask the student to start writing the written part. And then, when I change the roles, basically, when I finish the first exam, the second student, I ask the second student to explain to me what she has written. Okay? And, yeah, one thing. Usually I ask 3 questions. The first one is, let's say, a longer question. The first or the second. Longer means that you are required more to speak than writing. So if I tell you to start writing, it means that the second question will be the speaking one. It's an important question because I also evaluate your ability to present. Don't worry about the language. We are almost all non-native speakers, so I know when it's a language problem and when it's a problem of ability to speak. And so don't be concerned by being nervous, because also I can recognize when the problem is the fact that the student is agitated rather than lack of ability to speak. What I want to assess is the ability to speak. I think it is important because when you go for a job interview, your ability to speak matters a lot, matters more than, unfortunately or not, matters more than your skills, your technical skills. So if your ability to speak is limited, you should work on it. So my aim is to stimulate you to pay attention to the clarity of presentation, your conciseness. You don't have to speak half an hour. If I tell you that the exam is 20 minutes, it means that for a question you have to use at most 7, 8, 10 minutes. You don't have to speak, you don't have to start from the invention of the wheel. I tell you this because there are some students that actually they start from the invention of the wheel. And this is not a good way. If you go for a job interview and they ask you, so, what is your background? You don't have to start from the primary school, okay? And it's extremely important that you are concise, clear. You reply precisely to the question that was asked you, not to another question. This always, not always, very frequently happens. And also in job interviews, it happens that they ask you a question and the candidate replies to another question because she's agitated or one finds more convenient to reply to another question. So this is something that you don't have to do. And this happens with students at the exam. Sometimes I ask a question and the student replies to another one. I let the student speak because I don't want to interrupt, but it's not a good sign. So basically, as I said, first question, I look at how you are speaking and keep into account when at the end of the exam I may say, look, your mark is 28 because you are well prepared, but your ability to speak is not as good. And this is something that sometimes implies some discussion with the student because you may not realize it, but you have to trust me. And this is an important part of my evaluation, of my assessment. And then usually the second and third question are more precise, more let's say, more specific. And again, you have to be very concise. And I ask sometimes definition, like what is a wind wave? Sometimes stupid definitions. And I'll tell you also what are the questions that I more frequently ask. Just try to be very prepared also on definition, on technical details. Another thing that I wanted to tell you, I see that there is, okay, how I make my evaluation. You get 30 if you don't make any mistake. So 33 questions and they are well replied, and then you get 30. If you made some mistake, and I propose like 28, you know, some of the students ask me, can I try with another question to get to 30? And this is not possible because, as I said, 30 to me means that everything is fine. If you already failed one question, I cannot say anymore that everything is fine. And I just wanted to make it clear because, you know, I see that sometimes I have some discussions because, of course, you have the wish, the desire to get the max of the mark. But keep in mind that to get the max, you have to be very correct. And then, if I see that besides being correct, you proved that you are very motivated, interested, and you say something more with respect to what I said, then it's the case for the laude. Usually the laude, it's about 5% of my exams, and they are almost all concentrated. I tell you, this is just a statistical information. In the first or second exam date, in the pre-exam or the first one of the official exams, they are almost all concentrated there. I don't know why, but maybe because if you take the exam soon, probably it's because you attended the lectures and then you are well prepared. Maybe. And again, keep in mind that the Laude means something more. For instance, my web pages are full of links. You don't have to follow them, because if you want to get 30, it's just sufficient that you know what's written there. The web pages, not the PowerPoint. When I teach, I use also PowerPoint, which are summaries. They help me to teach and help you to follow, because to follow a web page is not easy, you see, because you need to read a lot of things. It's not a good way of teaching. When I teach, I use a PowerPoint, but keep in mind that you should study, you're supposed to study the web page. If you know everything that is there, it's fine. You don't need to learn more. In some cases, I also tell you that some of the web pages you don't need to know at the exam. I will be very precise on that in telling you what you need to know and what you don't strictly need to know. I also tell you what you need to learn by memory, just a few things. I will be very clear. So, if it's not clear to you what you have to study for the exam with respect to what is provided to you for your personal information, but it's not needed, again, if this is not clear, ask me. It's not a stupid question if you ask me, should I know this at the exam? Should I learn this for the exam? I'll tell you everything, no problem at all. Again, if, besides what is strictly required, you prove that you followed some links, you expanded your knowledge, this is a very good motivation for the Laude. Of course, you have to be perfect first, because once there was a student that failed 2 questions, but the third one was exceptional, and was expanded, but then he wanted the Laude. He said, no, it's not possible, because you expanded, but just for this topic. The other topics you didn't study them, and you skipped them, so this is not good. Okay? And the student replied by saying, but he was not interested in the other topics. Okay, I know, but you are supposed to know them anyway, and there is a regulation that we have to follow. So again, you study on the web page, and everything is there, what you need for getting 30. It's even more than that, so I tell you, and if you expand, that's fine. It's perfect, and you may get the Laude. Okay. Also, keep in mind that, as I said, the value of your presentation, you don't get 30 if you tell me everything, but the presentation is lengthy, not clear. I have to ask you, like in some cases of the students, I have to ask, like, okay, that's fine, but what about the relationship for computing the way by? I put just as an example. And this shouldn't be asked. If the answer is clear, should be also complete. If I have to ask for details, this is already a sign that something is not really perfect. So if your presentation is not fine, you don't get 30, and please keep it in mind. I suggest you to try before, like, you will know what are the questions that I more frequently ask, because I'll tell you. So try just, even by yourself, alone in a room, try to reply to the question. You realize if you can speak clearly, concisely, etc. You realize if you are hesitant. Okay, I think that's it. And let me also say something. Just 1 second, because I lost the screen, and I need to look at my notes. Okay. Okay. Now, you may require clarifications from me. I think the easiest way is that after the lecture, I'm not committed to rush to the train station. So after the lecture, if something is not clear, just ask me. I can stay more. And even during the lectures, it's very important that we interact. Okay, and in any case, if you need to contact me, the email is perfect, and my email is everywhere in my website, alberto.montanari@unibo.it, very easy. If you write me an email, I may take a couple of days to reply, but I will always reply. I will always reply to students. There is a very limited risk that I miss your email. If you don't get a reply after a couple of days, because sometimes I take a couple of days to reply. If you don't get a reply after a couple of days, then send again the email, but usually you know it. Okay, an important thing to tell you. Now, you may know that the department where I am employed in, which by the way I am now chairing, and this is another information that may be useful for you because sometimes I take some time to reply to students because I have other commitments, but you shouldn't have any problem on that. But the department started a project on innovative teaching, which is based on interaction. So, I will propose you some ways of interactive teaching. What do I mean with that? You will have the opportunity to contribute to teaching, and I may take your interacting activities into account for your final evaluation for the exam, if you wish. And opportunities may be, for instance, delivering a presentation to the audience, 5 minutes, and this is extremely interesting. I did it last year, also in the course of coastal engineering. What I did is to invite students who had previous experiences in problems related to coastal engineering, problems to solve, or previous experiences during the bachelor of case studies, or any kind of knowledge related to coastal engineering, to deliver a presentation to yourself, to the students, 5 minutes, 10 slides at most, and then we discuss. Or you may decide to go for a trip on the beach, take pictures, and try to make reasoning on what you see, and then present it to the audience. This would be extremely interesting because...
Sorry, we can do it in group.
Yes. Yes, even if it would be better if you made clear what is your contribution, at least in terms of presentation. Because what is interesting in this experience is that you have an opportunity to present in front of an audience, which, you know, it's not really something that is easy for everybody. So, it's an opportunity for me to evaluate how you present, and therefore it could be a replacement for my first question in the exam. So, if you go together in 3 people, I just require that you present 5 minutes each. In order, so I can recognize your style, your contribution, okay? But this is fine.
So there will be an assignment on this?
It's optional, so it's not an assignment. It's optional, so it's up to you, and also it's up to you to decide what to present. Assignment is different. Assignment would be, for instance, the exercises that we develop together, but again, also for the exercises, I'm not requiring that you give them back. Absolutely, because I want to make them optional. But it's not really an assignment, like go out and present what you see, because I don't want to make it compulsory, you know. It's something that it's something that should be based on interaction. Interaction shouldn't be compulsory, and it's something that it's related to your creativity. So last year I had students that said, no, it's not for me, and I don't want to force the students to do something that it's not for, because you know it's not strictly related to the subject. I think it is very useful, but
Yes, but sorry.
yeah, please. You know, okay, go first.
So you will suggest us some topics?
Yeah, I can do that. Last year I did it, but I tell you, at the end of the story, the student decided. Like, I had a student from France, and was living close to the sea, and presented a case study, like a shoreline that needed to be restored. And he presented what they were doing to restore the shoreline. And this is one possibility. But while I teach, I also give you some suggestions, like try to expand on natural methods, green methods for restoring beaches. It's not easy, by the way. But so I give you some suggestions, but also I also would like to count on your creativity. Okay, this is a possibility. Also, I take videos. Videos means that after a couple of days you will find the recordings in a YouTube playlist that is linked on this page. So there is the link somewhere, okay? And this is, I think it is very useful for you, not because you see again everything, but if you miss something, if something is not clear, you have the opportunity to look at the video. And the playlist is very clear, there are the dates, so you will get lectures for every date. And this is also part of innovative teaching. There are another thing that I want to do, not in every lecture. In some of them I want to stop 10 minutes earlier and require you, individually or by groups, to ask me questions. I would like to force you to ask questions. This is also extremely interesting, because sometimes students don't feel the need to ask questions, but if they are forced to, they ask very interesting questions. This is my experience. And also, I stimulate you to try to challenge me. This is very interesting. I may also say, I don't know. This is if you are very creative, I may reply, I don't know. And so this is interesting. I found it really very interesting. Another thing that another opportunity that I want to give to you is the opportunity to self-evaluate you. And here I open another chapter. What is self-evaluation? I will prepare some short questionnaires with closed answers, like tick boxes, that will provide you a means to self-assess your preparedness. I found them extremely useful as well. In particular, if you aim to get the max of the mark, if you aim to 30, I highly suggest you to take all the questionnaires that I will propose to you several times, and if you don't get 100%, be concerned. Like, it means that you have to refine your preparation. The questionnaires are fully anonymous. I know the replies of the students, but not the names. So I can look at the statistics, like there was a question that was not well answered by the student, but I don't know the names. I tell you, I swear on that. I can't know your name. And I think this is also an incentive for you, because it's not an exam. Where to find the questionnaire? At this point, you have to move from my website to the IOL website. You know it already. Okay, so let's go to IOL. And it's iol.unibo.it. Log in. Now you need to get in with your credential. I use mine. Of course, what I get is a vision that is not equivalent to yours. Okay, you will see something similar, where you should see your courses, provided they are in your study plan and they were activated by the teacher. Should be automatic if they are in your study plan. If you don't see coastal engineering, ocean and coastal engineering, it means that something is wrong, and let me know. Okay, so please do send me an email, because I can subscribe you manually, but you should see it, okay, provided you have the subject in your study plan. If you click on it, one second, okay, you see the course with an introduction, and the introduction, if you click here, guidelines for successful learning, brings you to my website through 2 clicks. Here you are. So the website is just a connection, establishes a connection. So you don't need to go to IOL for getting my tutorials. But you need to go there if you want to take your evaluation test, which is not yet here, but you will find it somewhere in the form of a link like these ones. Important. Here you see there is written annunci, which means announcements. I'm not sure whether I can translate it into English. I think it's possible in some way. But if you click there, you see that there are no topics. It's a forum. I will use these announcements to communicate with you. It's very useful for me. Like students, I am late, or students, there will be a field trip. If you want to subscribe, please write your name below. In the forum you can reply. You also will get an email in your mailbox when a new message is posted, so it's extremely useful. And keep in mind that in order to get the email, in order to access to the forum, you have to, at least once, to enter into IOL and click on the course. If you don't go into IOL, you are not automatically subscribed to this forum. But if you go there and you click on the course just once, then you should be automatically subscribed. Next week we will make an attempt, okay? I tried to send a text message, just as a test message, and then we will check whether you get it. This is extremely useful. Also, if you want to communicate with me, alone, just send an email. But if you want to send a message to all of us, this is very useful. Usually students don't use it, but I encourage you to use it. Now, I want to show you an example of my course that I taught in the last semester, so you see how it looks when it is completed. So this is a course in Italian. You see that there are several arguments, because I will add the lectures to my website and here, as we move forward. Okay, here it's completed, and if you go at the end, you see that there is a questionnaire to gauge your opinion, and I will propose you a questionnaire for gauging your opinion even in 2 weeks from now, because I want to make sure that you appreciate how I am teaching. Again, the questionnaire for collecting your opinion is anonymous, and again, I tell you, if you want, I'll show you what I see. Like, look at this questionnaire, for instance. This is a questionnaire, of course, sorry, it's in Italian. It's a questionnaire for gauging the student opinion. And I can click on the visualizza tutte le risposte, view all answers, and this is what I see. You see? There are no more links, no more information, just the teacher teaches with adequate speed, because one of my weaknesses is that I tend to speak too quickly. So this is a question that I wanted to put there, and you see there is più sì che no, which is an antecedent, the same replies that usually are given in the official test for gauging your opinion. Okay, now let me go back. So again, fully anonymous. Let me go back to the self-evaluation questionnaire, and just a second. It works in this way. Now let me change my role and to assume the role of the student. Just 1 second, because otherwise, student. So now the system appears to me as I was a student, which would be perfect. Test di autovalutazione, self-evaluation test. Ok, rispondi alle domande. Sometimes you need more than one click, be patient. And you see a series of questions. Here they are very many, because it was the final one. They are 25, I think. And you see closed answer. And it is a bit tricky because in some of the questions I put more than one correct reply, which is nice. And in some questions I put the option, none of the previous answers is correct. So it becomes a little bit tricky. It's not very easy to reply to this. And at the end of the story, you get a percentage, like you replied correctly to 85% of the questions. Okay? And again, I think it is very useful. Students, because I started in the previous semester doing this, and I got like 150 trials with 30 students, because they tried it several times. Because another tricky question is that you get your assessment in terms of percentage of correct questions, but the system doesn't tell you what are the questions that you failed. So sometimes you have to go with successful subsequent trials. I'm sorry, this is a weakness of the system, it's not my decision. And it's a system that doesn't tell you, it's a decision by the system, not by me. But anyway, we can discuss in class if you wish. After everybody took it, because I also propose a self-assessment test in mid-time, okay? So in a couple of weeks from now, 3 weeks, I propose you one, and then after everybody tried, we can discuss together. Last year, I tell you, I made my first self-assessment, and there was one wrong reply, and the students didn't realize it. And because, you know, it's difficult for the student to realize it. There was a wrong question. And I realized it after a couple of months, and they said, sorry, and it was wrong. Anyway. So, my plan was to take the first 2 hours just to introduce the course and the subject, so don't worry, I'm not late, it was planned. But after the break, I'll start teaching, so don't do it. I know that I'm not teaching now. Okay, and now, one more thing. Okay, this was said.